Thanks, Steve. Stay warm and out of the wind down there because it is a blustery day here in Atlanta as the cars roll off for the opening round of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice. 54 degrees, bright sun. If they would just turn off the wind machine, it would be a beautiful day here in Atlanta. Track temperature 80 degrees. Hi, everybody. Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, Mike Joy with you for this round of Sprint Cup practice and qualifying to follow later today on Speed. All right, let me get it over with right away. Last week when I said that Charlotte was the only mile-and-a-half track that NASCAR had for all these years. Oops. Here we are at the other mile-and-a-half track that's been in business since 1960.
Oh, I was going to ask you if you knew how big this one was.
It's 1.54, so you were technically right. So.
And Talladega's 2.66, and Daytona's 2.54.
And these are my best friends. You know, think about what the other people in my life had to say about it. All right, so here we are at a track that is much like Vegas, but much different from Vegas because it seems like it's a whole lot faster.
Well, it is. It's just got so much banking. And here you got a lot of turn. This is a mile-and-a-half racetrack with a mile of turns. You got 2 quarter-mile straightaways, so you spend a lot of time in the corner here, but those corners are banked. You can make a lot of speed through these corners. We're going to see, I don't think we're going to see a new track record here at 197 miles an hour, but you're going to see some really fast speeds with these cool temperatures. And if they would just close the door to the Hollywood Hotel, the wind would quit.
Is that where the wind's coming?
It's all coming out of there.
So how do you set up differently for this place than Las Vegas?
Well, this practice session, Mike, for an hour and a half, it's one of those head-scratching practice sessions because I heard so many drivers this week in their quotes almost relate this track to the old Darlington, where after you've made one run, you've taken the goodie out of those tires, and you almost start chasing your sets of tires, so you have to be very careful. But here's what I do know. The sun is out. I think even though it's cool, this track doesn't have a tremendous amount of grip, and we're going to qualify in the evening time. A lot of guys are anticipating they may run about 3/4 of a second faster tonight qualifying than what you'll see in this practice session. So you just got to be careful how you dissect things in this practice session.
Jeff Gordon has been the major story of the week, not for what happened in Las Vegas, but for what might have been. Gordon thoroughly dominated that race, and by taking 2 tires on the last pit stop instead of 4, this man, who no matter how many mile-and-a-half tracks we had, is the all-time winner on mile-and-a-halves, prevailed and went to victory lane. Let's check with Dick Bergman.
Well, in the garage stall of NASCAR's top driver, Jimmie Johnson, in addition to those 4 championships that he has won, he has started out 2010 right where he left off 2009. He's won the last 2 point-paying races. Let's not forget he also won his 150-miler at Daytona. He is going to start with a different setup here in Atlanta than he had typically run. Why? They just haven't liked the results. In the last 6 races, all they've got are 2 wins, a second-place finish, and led 5 of those 6 races. So let's try something a little bit different and see if we can do something better. That is the philosophy of Jimmie Johnson and his team, and that's why they are the tops. Let's go to Chris Navoda.
Well, Dick Berggren, you know I love you, but I think you've been hanging out at the short tracks too long. Dirt in your ears and your eyes. Kevin Harvick is tops. He's the points leader. He's one of only 4 guys who finished top 10 in all 3 races this year. Jimmie Johnson hasn't done that, and he's finished top 5 in both races here last year. He just got out of his truck practice just ending, and he was the fastest there as well. Kevin Harvick told us this morning, I can run with these guys, and they know it.
And I think he very well will.
I tell you, all is right with the racing world as we start this practice. Because look who's the fastest.
Mark Martin. Just went out and spanked them.
That's right.
Right off the bat. And came back in. Casey Kane, 4th quickest right now. He and Elliott Sadler, the fastest Fords in the opening laps.
Well, here's what I think we'll see in this practice, Mike. If you go back to California 2 weeks ago and even Las Vegas, the forecast for Saturday was not good. So in this hour-and-a-half practice that we had at those 2 tracks on Friday, teams like the 5-car, they were working on race setup for about an hour and in qualifying trim. There is no rain, no moisture in the forecast, so I think we'll go back, especially those Hendrick cars today. They will be focused on a qualifying run, only get ready to race tomorrow.
Boys, let me ask you something. Is it just my imagination, or are there 3 RPM race cars in the top 6 right now?
I don't think it's your imagination. You got Elliott Sadler third, Casey Kane that we just saw in fifth, and A.J. Almendinger sixth.
Now that's coming off the truck loaded for bear right there.
Yes, it is.
And
Yes,
Paul
sir.
Menard, who had a strong week last week, is 20th. 4-4 in the top 20.
Darrell, you mentioned Mark Martin as fastest as we see Joey Logano, who is started off with a heck of a season, sitting up there well in the top 10 in points. You see 8th, a couple of top 6 finishes. But the other thing that's different here, this will be the 6th different tire combination we've run here in the last 6 races. Goodyear comes here and continues to try to find the tire that's optimum as far as durability and grip for this new car. This tire we've brought here, construction-wise, how it's built, it's grippier left and right, and the right side tire is softer. And what shows me that is you look at the 3 qualifying sessions we've had with this new car here. They were 29.92. These are the pole speeds. 29.64 Mark Martin a year ago, and 30.10. Mark Martin is already at a 29.53. I think tonight they will run in the 28-second bracket in qualifying.
And that will be as fast as we've ever gone with this car.
The drivers that did the January tire test
On a mile
include the driver you're looking at right here, Dick. Any coincidence that he is the fastest on the sheet right now? I think not.
Yeah, that may be, Mike, but Mark Martin is not at all happy with his race car. He says it's dragging bottom and it's pushing very badly. So they've got him up on the scales already for other tires going on the race car, and a lot of conversation going on around the toolbox. He has a lot more speed yet to go.
Fix what he complains about first, and that will fix the other problem. Quits dragging the track, it'll quit pushing.
And that's one of those head-scratching challenges of this practice session. If you pick up a 1/2 to 3/4 of a second tonight for qualifying, that means it's faster and it's traveling more.
And you'll see more sparks.
Oh, yeah.
Speed's presentation of Sprint Cup practice from Atlanta is brought to you by Hamburger Helper. 1 pound, 1 pan, 1 tasty meal. And by Napa know-how. Mark Martin, top of the chart. 37 of the 46 entries have been on track for practice.
Pretty good start for Dale Jr. here, Mike. He's up to 8th quickest. And for a guy that, I don't know, he seems to struggle qualifying. You know, we've seen him have some pretty good practice runs, but when it comes time to qualify, it seems like I always miss it a little bit. But that's a good place to be right now.
Only 3 Chevys in the top 10, so that's pretty rare company. There's Bobby Labonte. His sponsor, TaxSlayer.com, not scheduled to be on the car this week, but they've gotten such good response. And oh, by the way, April 15th is looming fast. They decided to add this race to their schedule with the 71.
You see the graphics right there. That's Mr. Atlanta Motor Speedway. 6 wins at this speedway, and some of the closest finishes that we've ever seen, including he and Dale Earnhardt Sr. I think it was in the 2000 spring race.
959 laps led.
There was a time when you couldn't beat the Gibbs cars here. I mean, they just had it dialed in. This cat right here is not running too bad, Larry. He's second quick right now. Martin Truex in the old Napa car. It's got to make brother happy.
But that's another one of those teams that was part of that tire test down here in mid-January.
And this is the headquarters for Napa, so I'm sure the boys are putting a little extra effort out this weekend too.
Speaking of Toyotas, let's go down to the garage of the 10th place car. Krista.
Mike, Joey Logano says his biggest issue right now is with 1 and 2, the turns 1 and 2. When he lands, he says he has to be careful not to overdrive. He told crew chief Greg Zipadelli, my entry is secure, but I plow the nose when I land. 3 and 4 is fine. It's just in 1 and 2.
Now, Darrell, we hear that expression a lot. When I land in the corner, you got 4 wheels on the ground. What are you landing?
Well, the car actually, when the car goes off in the corner, the car actually raises up and then sets down, and it's really that setting down is what you call landing. You're in there hard as you can go, wheels turn, car hits some of those dips in the racetrack, the car will raise up in the air, and then when it lands, you want it to land so that you can be back in the gas, not have to chase it up the hill.
Last time I had a landing like that, the pilot apologized.
Mm-hmm. Was some little kid telling him where to land or how to take off?
No. Nothing. That poor kid and his father.
Oh, I know.
I don't.
No harm, no foul, but you know, what if?
It's a serious business.
Yeah, what if?
Yeah. And you know, I took the kids and father. I took the father's side. Gay was my wife's been in the airline business for 18 years. And she took the pilot's side. That shouldn't be allowed to happen. And the analogy she made was, well, what if your kid was up spotting for your race car on the roof?
Well, I'm glad you took the side that she took, and said I would have been taking the passenger side myself.
Right. Okay. I defer. You're both right.
Kind of a home game for David Reagan in that 6 car in Unadilla, Georgia, about 80 or 90 miles away from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dave, in fact, got his start on a little quarter-mile that's right here on the front stretch, running Bandoleros and Legends cars. And in fact, tonight after qualifying, Mike, you'll love this. How about a modified race on the quarter-mile after qualifying tonight?
The Whelen Southern Modified Tour is here. And all of the fellows you've been watching on Madhouse on that other cable network, Burt Myers and Tim Brown and that gang, and there they are, though, the most beautiful cars in all the stock car racing, purposeful machines, and they're going to race 150 laps right out here around the Kobalt 500 logo on the little track. We'll show it to you. Thank you. Thanks, Nelson, and thanks, Artie. That's where they were practicing all this morning, and what a joyful noise that was. Straightaway, turn 1 and 2, down the backstretch, around again 150 times.
Oh yeah, I woke up to that sound this morning. It was like
I loved it.
Sweet.
You know what?
Sweet music.
I'd buy a ticket to see that.
You got that right. It'll be fun to watch.
Krista.
It will be fun, especially with those Myers brothers in the field for sure. Let's give you an update on Kevin Harvick. The 29 says he's bottoming out. It's making it hard to tell how the car really is, and that's actually universal for his RCR teammate as well. Jeff Burton also bottoming out bad. It's kind of become a theme down here. I know the 00's worried about the splitter as well. Kevin said with that bottoming out, he just really can't get a feel for his race car, at least not yet.
You know, and bottoming out with this car, with the splitter, oh, it's not like the old car where you just had a valence hanging down up front, a piece of aluminum that was now next. This thing here will lift you off the ground and shoot you up the track big time.
And pretty much the problem is NASCAR mandates how high that has to be off the ground, minimum and maximum. It has to be at 4 inches sitting statically. Then it's up to you and your team and the engineers to work out how much you let the car travel with the bump stops and the shock packers and things of that nature.
You just have to, you got to limit it, and that's what they work so hard on the pull-down machines that you hear them talk about all the time, is how far to, what packers or what shims to use or what springs to use to keep the car up off the ground.
Hey guys, I think the last time we saw this paint scheme, all of our voices was about 8 octaves higher. Yeah, kind of a retro paint scheme from when he won the race here and beat Jimmy Johnson in another one of those close Atlanta finishes, 2005, I think it was.
That's when I became a Carl Edwards fan that day, buddy.
A lot of people did.
Whoa, what a show.
Mark Martin and Martin Truex continue to pace practice here in Atlanta. Sunday will be the 102nd Cup race at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which opened in 1960. It'll be the 26th race since they flipped the front and the back straightaway. 1.54 miles is the track right now. First race here, July 1960. Fireball Roberts sat on the pole and won the race.
You know, we had so much going on at the front of the pack the other day at Las Vegas. This team right here, Marco Ambrose, Frankie Kerr, and that 47, actually had a pretty solid day. And the biggest thing they were excited about, they finally were running this year when the checkered flag waved. They had 2 engine failures the first 2 races and finished 14th last week.
I like his little sponsor this weekend. You know, those Edith snacks by Lance are pretty darn good.
Do you have Lance in your pants?
That's just TMI. Dick?
trying to trying to know how to respond to that. I just don't know.
Bergie, help us.
Well, in the up and down world of Denny Hamlin, he finished the 2009 season with 3 races in which he finished first, second, and third. But he has begun the 2010 season 17th, 19th, 29th. Not at all what they had expected, certainly not what they had hoped for. Right now, they are working on what Hamlin said, speed. The car is simply too tight. They're changing the front anti-roll bar and a bunch of other stuff underneath the car to try to get some speed out of it and to turn this team around and get them where they belong, at the front of the speed chart. Krista?
Well, Dick, what about his teammate, Kyle Busch? Kyle also out of his race car right now. They're switching over to qualifying trim. And Kyle, on the other end of the spectrum, he's actually pretty happy with this car. The last thing he said before he brought his Toyota into the garage, the car is pretty good. Talking with crew chief Dave Rogers right now, going over some things as the crew switches the car over to qualifying trim. Kyle, pretty happy. You know he's always fast here at Atlanta.
You know, you can just tell so much about a team and how what their attitude is by their body language.
Yeah.
You know, you see guys walking around looking down at the ground and long faces. You gotta believe they're probably not running very good. You see guys in there kind of cutting up, having a good time, smacking each other around a little bit. You gotta feel like they're probably on top of their game. So I'd like to pay attention to the attitude of the guys around the car.
Regan Smith in that 78 car, they kind of cleared things up this week. They do have a technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing. Richard Childress Racing, they supply the cars, engineering support, but because of a contract that Bernie Visser and that group had with Hendrick Engines, Hendrick Motorsports, they still this year for 2010 will get their engines from the Hendrick camp. And
where do they get their pit crew from?
Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick. Yeah, his Nationwide Series team.
Yeah. And you know, Kevin said that, you know how much trouble he had on Saturday at Vegas, and he was upset, and rightfully so. It just wasn't going well in the pits. But he said on Sunday, those boys can knock off 13-second pit stops all day long.
Yeah, he said they were solid as a rock on Sunday for that 78 group.
But he thought the pressure of pitting up front, pitting out of the lead on Saturday, shows room for improvement.
That pressure get to you.
You up, Billy Joel. By the way, the slogan is, I've got Lance in my pants.
Exactly.
You don't live in their marketing area, so there. Tonight with NASCAR in Atlanta, Rocket Man Ryan Newman and Martin Truex Jr. stopped by the Ultimate Friday Night House Party. Trackside live tonight, 8 Eastern, only on Speed.
You know, we make a big deal out of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon and how Jeff brought Jimmy into the Hendrick fold. But I tell you, Buddy Baker and Ryan Newman, that's a great connection too. Buddy has been Ryan's driver coach when he first started into the sport. Buddy spotted for Ryan for a long, long time. And now Ryan is going to try to break Buddy's record here for qualifying on the pole.
That's right.
So it's just funny how you make those connections and how things play out.
You know, when Ryan won the 2008 Daytona 500 in Victory Lane, he nicknamed that car Buddy.
Did he really? Cool.
That's right. They only named their cars once they won.
Right.
So the driver got the right to name the car. Matt Kenseth carrying some familiar colors around Atlanta. When Roush Racing last ran Valvoline, at least when they ran him for a full season, it was numbered 6, and Mark Martin was behind the wheel. And it's now Matt out running some practice laps. Here comes Sideways Sam.
Let's see what happens to him today. Up, push, loose right there. Just kind of got the thing. No, the front tires took off a little bit. And when you correct like that, the back end snaps out. And then you go into the pits.
For major adjustments.
Or maybe a change of tires.
Now, we were 22 minutes into this practice session before Jimmy Johnson made an appearance on the racetrack. Dick?
Went out with the race car, Mike, but he never really made a lap with it. They decided that the skirts on the car were too low, dragging on the ground, and as a result, they brought it back into the garage, made that adjustment, and right now the car is in here with all 4 tires off, jacked up in the air, and the mechanics are working on it, trying to get a little more speed out of it. He's 15th on the chart right now.
And you might say, you know, why would they go out with the skirts too long or something? It's better to start them too low and trim them off than it is from to never touch the ground. You want them to be right against the ground or the track So you just you start them a little long and then trim them off to where they don't touch anymore. And here's one of my buddies.
One of your Twitter buddies?
My Twitter buddy gave me a really sweet pair of sunglasses last week. Man, I'm happy about that.
Have you been wearing them?
I've been wearing them everywhere I go.
Do you wear them while you tweet?
No, I don't. I can't. I don't see that well.
Well, now, more importantly, he and his teammate Jamie McMurray have come together and made up since what happened last week when Jamie's car pushed up and Juan was turning down and the two of them crashed early in the race in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I bet Juan probably thinks that Jamie had a pair of those sunglasses on when he was driving down underneath of him in the third turn.
Well, there were some harsh words said at the time.
Ooh.
But everything's fine now in the Earnhardt Ganassi camp.
Yeah, it is. Jamie texted Juan and apologized, and Juan said, "I accept your apology. I was upset, hot, and leave that in Vegas." What happens in Vegas
stays in Vegas. But I think and this guy was a victim of that wreck. Right. Kurt Busch in the 2 car who had sat on the pole and had fallen backwards. He was caught up in that. But I think Juan's, biggest thing there was, why were you racing me, your teammate, that hard to get in trouble that early in the race? I think that's probably the thing he was the maddest and the most frustrated over.
It's a lot better to be mad at your teammate for holding you up than it is to have to apologize to him for wrecking.
Good point.
We were here 1 year ago, though. This 2-car, Kurt Busch, just annihilated the field. Led 234 out of 330 laps with that 2-car.
That thing's got a funny looking chalk package on the back of it. The back end was really jumping up and down, getting off into turn 1. Kind of hopping down the back straightaway, too. Which you can get away with something like that qualifying, because what you're trying to do is hold the back of the car down. Keep that big old wing out of the air as much as possible. Give the thing as much speed as you can.
And even though I felt like a lot of guys were going to probably focus on qualifying, I think we are seeing a lot of cars that are in race trim. And I think in the last 30 minutes of this practice, this speed chart will really start to change.
Interesting note on Travis Kvapil's car. Bob Jenkins owns this car, owns a chain of these Long John Silver restaurants and a bunch of Taco Bells and other fast food franchises. And I read an article that said that he was watching a race on TV, and told his wife, I'm going to be in this series. I want to own a race team. I want to build it into something that's really going to be competitive in this series, and we really make our mark. And she turned to him and said, we don't even own our street car. It's leased. and you want to start a race team? Well, you know what? He started it. He's persevered. He's gone from a 1-car occasional team to now where he's got several full-time cars out here and is doing well. So the naysayers that say you can't break into this sport these days, they just need to go talk to these folks. Want to keep up with all the results and stats from the track? Check out the new NASCAR stats package. Get the latest practice and qualifying reports, race results, and driver standings. Go to the NASCAR section of SpeedTV.com. Krista?
Martin Truex is out of his race car, and it's really fast on the chart. Is that indicative of how you're going to be in qualifying and in the race?
Well, I hope so. That was race trim right there. So we're doing some race runs. And so far, the Napa Toyota feels good. It's fast, and we're going to qualifying trim right now to see what it'll do. But it feels good so far. I love coming to Atlanta. It's one of my favorite tracks, and I think it's just perfect for these cars and what we do. So looking forward to the rest of the weekend.
You got that new Napa commercial out, and I had a fan stop me and ask if that's really you singing.
I can't sing that good. No, not a chance.
All right, we'll just let people believe that it's still you singing, right?
Whatever they want to believe is fine. It's a great commercial. They did a good job with it. So
thanks, Martin.
Thank you.
Now,
I don't know. I know what you're thinking. Same thing I am.
I can't go there, though.
Smell my car? Not good.
Smellmycar.com. Well, it smells like something is amiss for Casey Mears, who's had a tough time. He and Raymond Key trying to make it in this series, single car team, and they have not yet made a race.
She just grenades right there about max RPM, and something came undone inside that engine.
But you're right, Mike. I mean, we have an hour left in this practice. I think I can, with confidence, say they will not get back out on the racetrack. This team has not qualified for a race yet in 2010.
It's the first time they've had a sponsor on the car, I believe, smellmycar.com, and what is that, 75million.com. So Casey Mears is going to have to go up against a large group of cars that have to make this field on time. 3 of them are going to go home, and the fastest of those, Joe Nemechek, right now is 22nd. Remember, Joe qualified 8th here last March.
And how tough is it being a car that's not in the top 35 and hadn't made a race? Did you see where they're parked the car at? I mean, it's basically outside the garage area, back there in just a kind of a makeshift place right there. You can see it's outside the garage area.
Now we're getting close to when we're going to use this year's points for determining the top 35. And right now, 23rd place is only 71 points ahead of 36th place. So look how close that grouping is right there. One more race after Atlanta.
I think the most amazing one to me is Kevin Conway.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a rookie, a raw rookie, and they're right there on the cusp of being in the top 35.
Now Conway didn't get to drive at Daytona. He wasn't approved, but this is car owner, not driver points. Yeah. So they're in there.
You know, the most amazing one, though, is not even on that list. When I look at Scott Speed in that 82 car, who stayed 36th almost all year long last year, Scott comes in here leading a lap in all 3 races, 16th in the points. A year ago at this point, this team was 37th in owner points.
No, Larry, he was in the top 35 after the season. He was in and out about 5 times. Remember,
yes.
No, somebody wasn't going to show up, so he got in. Somebody would buy the points, and he's back out, and he was in, and he was out.
You're right, exactly right.
Let's check with Dick.
Well, Greg Biffle is off to a really good start this year. He had a 3rd in the Daytona 500, a pair of top 10 finishes after that. But you have got one of the most interesting, unusual sponsors I have ever seen, the United States Census. What is their goal? Putting the name on the side of your race car and on your tummy.
Well, it's important, you know, it's a really important, funny little form that we get every 10 years, and it's important. They're trying to build awareness for people to fill the form out and send it back. 1%, little stat, 1% of people, for every 1% that don't send it back, costs the taxpayers $85 million. So everybody fill it out, send it back, and, you know, it helps get the proper amount of funding for schools and fire departments and things like that. So it's really important. I didn't realize how important it was, so I started reading about it, and they come on the car. So we want everybody to fill the form out and send it back.
How big is stock car racing? Even the U.S. government has figured out its value.
Hey, Dick Bergman.
Yeah.
When you were born, did they even have the census?
Oh, now, Larry, be nice to me. Yeah, they had a census when I was born, but there are only about 12 of us on the planet, so.
Yeah.
Since 1790, so just a couple years.
Yeah. Dick was there for the War of 1812, so he could tell you all about it.
Chris Myers just tweeted in that Dick's Social Security number is
1.
I was going to say 80. That was his race car number. Believe it or not, practice will continue. How many 2-time Daytona 500 winners have their own variety show?
One.
Only one that I know of, and it's Fast Track to Fame, Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed, and it's taped right here on the Speed stage during race weekend. So if you're coming to the track, listen to the announcements, come be part of the crowd, and who knows who will go on the Fast Track to Fame this week.
Krista asked Martin about his singing. Have you seen that Napa commercial where he sings?
No. I did. I saw it this morning, actually.
Made me think that he might ought to go over there and try out for the Fast Track to Fame.
Well, he's already on the Fast Track.
Yeah, he is today.
He's already pretty famous.
He is
But
today.
Tell you what, the guy that won it last week won that episode.
fiddle player.
He was good. I wasn't sure about the guy juggling chainsaws,
No.
but the fiddle player was pretty good.
Where should a fiddle player go?
NASCAR country.
Down to Georgia.
Here we are. Oh, yeah.
Does
The
Joey
devil
Daniels
went-
play a mean fiddle?
Devil went down to Georgia, you know, Charlie's song.
Uh-oh, this doesn't look good, Krista.
Yeah, you're looking at the motor that is going to go back into the 90, a new motor for Casey Mears. Definitely the most frustrated driver down here in the garage. He's talking with crew chief Doug Richard right now. We're going to go ahead and sneak in real quick. Sorry, Doug. Casey, obviously very lot of frustration trying to make the race, and this definitely doesn't help.
Yeah, we just, you know, we haven't made a race yet this year, you know, and we've just been kind of down on power and you know, just fighting, trying to get this car balanced right. But as soon as we pulled out on the track, it just right away was vibrating from the first run. I told them from the flag sign on it was vibrating real bad, and but it's all we got, you know. So we tried to make another run and it just blew up. So I don't know. I mean, we really got to do something halfway decent. Right now, we, you know, we're down on power, and we got an old car. We just gotta do one of them. You know, we got to at least go get a good motor, you know, and to try to make these races. And you know, these guys are really working hard. Everybody at Key Motorsports has been putting a lot of work and effort into this thing and just trying to get it to the track. And you know, there's a lot of good guys here. We just don't have the parts and pieces to make it go. You know, so hopefully. You know, as we get down the road here, we can start collecting some of those.
Especially working with any sponsors you can get right now. I see smellmycar.com on the car. What exactly is that?
I just learned about it. I guess it's a new air freshener company called Juice, and that's basically their website to go to and go there and take a look at it. And obviously, they get more people to go and take a look at it, the better off we'll be in the future. So hopefully we can, down the road through those guys and some other help, you know, start getting the stuff we need to come out here and compete in these races.
All right, thanks, Casey. We're going to take a look at it. Nothing else to help you out. Thank you.
So an engine change for Casey Mears. Hopefully they'll get that done in time for him to qualify later today on speed.
I mean, a place like this, there's just no substitute for horsepower. You're in the throttle so long, so much.
Mopar on one of the Penske cars. This is Brad Keselowski's. Mopar is the parts division of Chrysler Corporation, and Mopar name has been on many of their performance parts in the past.
And Brad's will be making his very first Sprint Cup Series start here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He has 3 starts in the Nationwide Series.
Watch these cars go off in the first turn. You just got to believe that thing won't spin out. Because when it gets down to, kind of swings out and heads off into the first turn, right or wrong, and see how close out to the wall you get right there. You turn the wheel right there to the bottom, and the back of that car swings out. It's the side force that catches it. If you let off the gas at the wrong time with the thing swung out, like it might spin out, you got to have the believe, you got to know that it's going to stick with you and drive it on down in there if you want to go fast.
Nobody should know better than Clint Boyer. He said it's just like dirt tracking, except at 200 miles an hour.
Wow. Speed's coverage of Sprint Cup practice from Atlanta is brought to you by Camping World RV Rentals. Book early and save. One-way and round-trip RV rentals available. Mark Martin paces practice. Here comes Boris Said, who has also had a run of tough luck in the opening 3 weeks of this season, though he has made the races based on car owner points. He's had a tough time staying around to the finish.
Yeah, and he's struggling in this practice session. I actually saw Boris in the airport yesterday, and he was pretty pumped up. He said this will be the first real good horsepower engine that we've had this year, but right now he's 45th of the 46 cars we have here.
So if you have a good engine, horsepower-wise, and you're still 45th, it must not be the engine.
Must need to work on something else.
Something else.
Michael McDowell completing his run. Now he's one of the go-homers, and he's 37th overall. There are 4 drivers slower than him in the early part of this practice. Bobby Labonte, Eric Almirola, Casey Mears, and Terry Cook.
And I can say that about Boris because when I drove for Junior Johnson, we would sometimes be, Hammond and I would start complaining about the engine. The engine's not doing right. The engine's not running. The engine's not running. Junior said, boy, you need to get over and work on that car. Sure enough, we get over there and beat on that old car instead of worrying about what kind of engine we had. First thing you know, we were fast.
If the car had worked, that engine had run.
That's right.
Okay.
My favorite saying, Harold Elliott used to tell me all the time, Harold, this motor doesn't feel like it's got a lot of horsepower. How much horsepower has it got? It's got 800 when you hold it wide open.
Elliott Sadler, 3rd on the board. A sponsor we've seen before, I think the first time this year, for Hunt Brothers Pizza on Sadler's machine. Let's go to the garage and Dick.
And Kurt Busch is out of his race car talking to the team about the behavior of his car. He says it's good except for the fact that he cannot get the car down to the white line where he'd like to get it. And there are a lot of eyes on Kurt Busch this weekend because last year in the spring here at Atlanta, he led 234 laps on the way to taking the checkered flag and then the trophy home. And of course, last week was a disappointing week for him. He won the pole, but then was involved in that early crash with Montoya and McMurray and had a pretty poor finish. But they've got some stuff for this Atlanta racetrack, no question about that.
I just want to tell you, body language, looking at that driver, walking out of that garage. He just told them, why don't you put it back like we had it last year? And they just told him, it's better. This is much better. And you see where he is.
And I think he probably said, well, show me.
Yeah. And so that little smirk he had on his face was like, I told you. I just want you to know I told you.
Here's the Dinger going out to practice in the 43. I don't think I've ever seen, have I, the King's car in green? But that's the color of Insignia, which is a television brand.
Is that green?
Sold only at Best Buy. It could be chartreuse. I'll have to adjust my set. Could be avocado.
Now you're talking. Remember?
Now you're listening to voices in your ear.
There is in my left ear. Richard's not wearing green. That's okay.
Richard and David Pearson. I'll tell you, 25 years ago, they said, you'll never see me in a green car. Of course, he's not in the car, but.
Or affiliated with a green car.
Yeah, and then you in the Gatorade car and Harry Gantt in the Skull car started winning races.
Yeah, and then the Mountain Dew car. And
that was the end of the green problem.
Yeah.
The color of money being green.
Roger that.
You talked about him early in the practice. Allmendinger sitting up there 7th quickest. He's run a total of 9 laps. Like, we got a bunch of Fords up there in the top 10.
Ford track.
Krista?
Well, let's talk about one of them. Elliott Sadler turned a couple of quick laps right at the start of this practice session. They made tons of changes, though, went back out. And Elliott's words on the radio, and you guys talk about body language, how about vocal cues? He said, man, we made it a lot worse, just way worse under load, lost a ton of grip. Some frustration down here in the 19 right now.
Let me tell you, it's not totally unusual to hit this racetrack. Of course, we've had truck practice, I know. It's not unusual to hit this racetrack the first time out and be really fast. The car always seemed to be kind of free but manageable. Then the track changes and things change.
Now, speaking of green being the color of money, A.J. Allmendinger is now 4th quickest, put up a good lap there. Do you know why U.S. paper money is green?
No.
I'll tell you after the break.
Dang on it. Hey, folks, you know, when we were going to break, Mike said he was going to give us the answer to that question about why money is green. Well, you know how you keep a turkey in suspense?
You go to commercial?
You tell him, you'll yell him an answer when you come back from commercial, when you come back from break.
Jody Machek, 25th on the board, 3rd of the go-or-go-homers. Dave Blaney has jumped up to 8th. So, you know, in a lot of countries, the different denomination bills are different sizes and even different colors, so they're easy to tell apart. And that idea was promoted to the U.S. Treasury, and it's really because of our allies abroad. Apparently there are problems in some smaller countries, mainly dictatorships, where all of a sudden the red money that was good yesterday, that's no good. Now you have to use the blue money. All the red money is worthless. And the U.S. government was worried that if they changed the color of our bills, that folks abroad might be duped or confused into thinking that the older green money was no good. So for consistency, they're getting a little bit of color, and there's some peach on the 20, you know, here and there, but
yeah.
But predominantly our money is green, and now so are some of our race cars.
You know why that car is green?
Does it have anything to do with grass?
I'll tell you after the break. Yes, it has everything to do with the grass.
All yours right here. Nobody else is out there.
Make a little practice qualifying run, I believe, here. Number 99, Carl Edwards.
All right, now Dick Berggren's Social Security number is not 80, but we love him anyway. Bergie.
Thanks. Well, Jeff Gordon doesn't love his race car right now. He's 19th quick, and they have just done a mock qualifying run on the racetrack, and Gordon said he didn't know where the grip had gone. He didn't know why the car wasn't faster than it had been in race trim. It's a big surprise these guys aren't a lot faster here, because last spring for the race he led 47 laps, finished in the 2nd position. Last fall he led 30 laps, finished 8th, but they're definitely having a tough time today with the number 24.
But I mean, Mike, you mentioned that this racetrack was reconfigured during the summer of '97. That's the last time it actually had asphalt put on it. You're always looking for grip here, but the biggest thing is overall balance. You know, you've got to get the front and the rear working together where the car's not loose or shoving the nose.
Now, like I said in the opening, this track is 1.5 miles, but it's only got quarter-mile straightaways.
Right.
And that back straightaway is short. So you're jacking this thing, you're working hard on getting these things through the corner at speed like we run.
Dale Jr. is 15th. That makes him second fastest of the Hendrick cars behind Mark Martin, but ahead of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon right now.
That's a good run right there. What did he do?
Jumped up the quickest.
Oh, yeah,
he is the
Yeah.
fastest at a 29.47.
I knew he was fast. I just didn't see it. Yes, sir.
There you see the board change. New look for Mark Martin this year because GoDaddy.com, it's been on his car for the last few races, is a part-year major sponsor. CarQuest, which was on that car for quite a number of races last year, will also return to that role for a number of races this year. But this week it's the HendrickCars.com Chevrolet. Dick?
Well, Jimmy Johnson's on his way back out to the racetrack, Mike, and not only is this one of the most successful teams in the last decade of stock car racing, but they're also one of the most secretive. Used to be you could listen to the scanner and Jimmy would tell you in great detail what the behavior of the race car is, entering the corner, when he's on the gas, when he's first touching the brake, when he's on the brake hard, and so forth. No more. What I just heard in my ear when he came off the racetrack last time was he told Chad Knaus, his crew chief, we've got to improve on what we were talking about. That was it.
Well, Dick, they know that you're scanning them, and they know that 45 other race teams here are scanning them. So, yeah, you have to be very careful what you say on that radio, especially in practice, where you can wait till you get to the garage area.
Well, the dynamic of this practice is interesting. Chevrolets have dominated this season thus far, but today there are only 3 Chevys in the top 12 in this practice: Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Montoya. There's the top of the chart. And now Joe Nemechek has jumped right up there with Dave Blaney in the battle of the go-or-go homers. Tomorrow, the world's toughest trucks are in Atlanta. Gold medal winning bobsled builder Jeff Bodine climbs back behind the wheel and trades paint with the toughest trucks on the planet. NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series live from Atlanta tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern. Dale Jr., Mark Martin, Juan Montoya, Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, Max Pappas, the top half dozen now. And the next guy on the chart in 7th is with Krista.
Yeah, Mike, A.J. Allmendinger rolled off a quick lap before bringing his car into the garage. He said just a tick tight. Is that all you're missing right now?
You know, we're just working on the rear of the car. You know, the Insignia Best Buy Ford, we're working on a new package here. We struggled a little bit the last couple races, and Mike Shiplett and all the 43 guys, we're working hard, and just a new process with the new race car, and we're doing everything we can to learn the car, and we kind of came here with a different package, and so far it's been pretty good. We got to keep getting a little bit better, but it's a long process. We're just working on it.
A new package and a new color, lime green. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's Insignia's exclusive brand to Best Buy, and Best Buy's chosen to go out there and try to promote Insignia for the next 15 or 16 races that we have it on the car. And I think it's just a product of how good NASCAR is, and Best Buy's had a lot of success with them, and they want to promote their new products inside their store. So we're excited to have Insignia on board, and my favorite color is green, so hopefully this is a change of luck.
All right, thanks, AJ. Yeah, DW, he said the lime green doesn't bother him at all.
No, and I like to hear a guy that has a green car and says that's going to change his luck.
Well, this is about as good as he's run since we were at Daytona back during speed weeks. And Martin Truex Jr., you heard him say a while ago that they'd been making race runs. Looks like they're going to make a practice qualifying run here with this 56 car. He's 4th quickest right now, and he actually ran quite a bit slower than his fastest lap.
Larry, just based on these first 3 races, and Daytona being one of them, and this is a compliment, it appears to me that the Chevrolet teams, the Chevrolet engine guys, have got just a little wee bit more smoke under the hood than some of these other guys do. I mean, if you look at the performance of the Childress cars and you look at the performance of the Hendrick cars, those guys are making some steam, buddy.
Now, you just heard Billy O'Day, the spotter for Kevin Harvick, say there's something coming out the back. Kevin shuts it down. There was a trail of smoke, like a haze of smoke coming off.
I think something's rubbing.
Yeah, it was like tire rubber. It was like a haze coming off the right rear.
I think he's rubbing a tire.
You're just a tire rub, not the splitter, though.
Let's see if the splitter is on the right side, but I don't think that's what it's coming out of the back near the rear. I think the right rear
Like
must
the
be
right rear tire. I believe you're
rubbing a little
exactly
bit.
right.
That'll be easy to find.
Yeah, that tire will appear shiny on the edge. That one could have been just the sunlight. Hard to tell from this angle, but it'll be shiny where it was rubbing.
A little residue normally.
It was.
Yeah, a little residue from the rubber. You know, it'll show right up.
The Biff. That was interesting what he said, Larry, that if you don't mail back your census, then they have to send a census taker to your house and ask a whole bunch of questions, and that gets very, very expensive. There is Dick Bergman's social security number, according to Fox payroll. Hope you're protected by that LifeLock thing, Dick, because I mean, now it's out there. Everybody knows.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Mike. I read that same thing, and I had to read it a couple of times, that every 1% that does not send that census in, it costs us, taxpayers, $85 million. I mean, I tell you what it did for me. It motivated me to make sure that I send it back in and do my small part.
85 million. That's it. Not even much.
Per 1%.
Yeah, we're 14 trillion in the hole, so don't want to add any more.
In the
to
grand
that.
scheme of things.
Yeah, we don't want to add any more to that.
Mitsubishi Electric on David Rudman's car this week. And David is 8th fastest. Sunday, NASCAR race day soars into Atlanta. Points leader Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and crew chief Alan Gustafson join us live, and we'll break down the fallout at Earnhardt Ganassi and the put back together after Las Vegas. NASCAR race day built by the Home Depot, live Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Hammond and I were laughing because we were talking about teammates, you know, getting mad at each other, and did we ever have anything like that happen? We were talking to some people online, and I said, yeah, it happened to us a couple of times. We actually protested Neil Bonnet at one race
at
Nashville and got it, you know, got the win. So, and then there was another time when his car wasn't exactly like ours, and we thought that wasn't fair. So
his was legal.
Yeah.
What was comical about that one, I think once they got to diving into it, Darrell's was just like Neil's.
That's when you start backing out the door.
Let's have a look at Eric Almirola here.
You know, he wrecked his car last week. Qualifying on his second lap after getting in the show on the first. Wonder if you think those guys, you think the crew chief learned anything from that last week, Larry?
I would say pay closer attention to the scoring monitor at the completion of lap 1.
Now, what the monitor says right now, Terry Cook, Michael McDowell, and Casey Mears would be the 3 go-homers, because Bobby Labonte, even though he's 3rd from the bottom, has the past champions provisional available.
And Terry Cook, just like Casey Mears, looking to try to make his very, very first start of 2010. You know, I need to clear a little something up from Las Vegas last week. I made the comment that the Ford teams would not run the Ford FR9 engine, the new engine, until the All-Star race. I guess what I should have clarified is the full-time, the Richard Petty Motorsports, the Roush Fenway teams will not run that engine until the Sprint All-Star race. Every time Bill Elliott, the Wood brothers that run a limited schedule, they will run the Ford FR9 engine. Their schedule right now, 2010, this is the second of 14 races for this year.
The Motorcraft Parts quick lane car going past the Elliott Grandstand.
Know that guy.
There was a time when this whole track would fill up just to come and see Awesome Bill from Dawsonville.
5 poles and 5 wins at this place.
I was going to say, that time you're talking about, he won all those races. He was hard to beat here at Atlanta, boy.
George's favorite son in stock car racing for many, many years. Krista?
Well, the crew working on the left rear of Kevin Harvick's race car, just a slight tire rub, but yes, there is definitely a little bit of damage. The crew has been down here working on it. They've got the tape on there, just massaging that left rear ever so gently. You can see it is slight, but it is there. That's the bad news. Hey, the good news, guys, that's a lot less damage and a lot less yellow off that car than it was last week in practice at Vegas, right?
I will say, because 5 minutes into practice last week, he had slapped the wall off turn 2, qualified 34th. But didn't damper his efforts on race day. He ran second for the second consecutive week to Jimmy Johnson, the 48 car.
Elliott Sadler back out. He's been dropped down to 12th as more cars get into qualifying trim here. His best lap of the day, 29.80.
Speaking of 29 and Kevin Harvick, you know, he's not too high on the chart today. He's 34th quick. They've got a little work to do on their qualifying package. Of course, that tire rub, I think, probably affected his run he just had.
Here's his teammate, Jeff Burton, in the Caterpillar Chevy. He's 32nd on the board, and Boyer is 21st.
You know what's amazing is in the last 5 races, the last 2 of 2009 and the first 3 of this year, RCR has had a car that finished second. Jeff Burton finished second in the last 2 races of last year. Kevin Harvick has finished second in the last 2 races we've had, and then they finished second in the Daytona 500. So not too bad.
I'd have to say, Larry, that we got to quit talking about the resurgence. They are back.
They are back.
And you know, that's the big thing.
And they started showing at the end of last year. They really did.
I'm glad because Richard is, you know, Richard was not happy with us a couple of times last year, and rightfully so.
Well, when we gave out our grades,
we were just talking about what the cars that he knew they weren't running, and I guess we were pointing it out, but that was obvious to us, and I think it was to him too. But I think things like that motivate you. They put you back to work.
Let me clear up what I said. They have finished second in 4 of the last 5 races. Dale Earnhardt finished second in the Daytona 500. They looked like they were going to finish second in the 500.
And I want to say hi to Richard's wife, Judy. She's not doing very well. She's in the hospital over in Winston-Salem. And Judy, if you're watching, get well soon. We're all thinking about you.
Dick?
Well, Mark Martin still has the fastest car in Atlanta, Georgia, Mike. He's only run 7 laps today, but every one of those laps has been in qualifying trim. The radiator grill opening has been taped up all day long. The last time he brought the car into the garage, which was just moments ago, he told the crew on the radio that he really liked the balance. Climbed out, and since then he's been talking with Alan Gustafson and his crew chief, and the rest of the team are going to still try to make this thing better, although that seems hard to imagine they can do it.
Thanks, Dick. Also on the hello list, Jeff Bird, who runs Bristol Motor Speedway. Jay Bird has got a health issue he's dealing with, and we wish him well, and our thoughts and best wishes to him also.
Good man. We miss him.
Speed's coverage of NASCAR Sprint Cup practice from Atlanta is brought to you by the Sponsorifier. Visit ToyotaRacing.com today. Click on Design It, Enter It. And by Napa. Napa know-how. Well, the top of the board has changed. It's now Mark Martin, Juan Montoya, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Martin Truex Jr. Dick?
When you come to Atlanta, you immediately think about Carl Edwards, and in particular that weekend where he won his first ever nationwide race and his first ever Sprint Cup race. Is this your favorite racetrack now?
It's a lot of fun, and there's no racetrack that I enjoy more than Atlanta. I mean, you get to sail these cars down in the corner, sideways, and the track's got a lot of character, and it's so cool with Scott's and Aflac to partner up and let us run this retro paint scheme. This is, 5 years ago, my whole career changed with that finish with Jimmy, and it's just so neat to be to come in the garage and see this car, and hopefully we can recreate a little bit of history. We've got a great car so far. It seems pretty fast, and like I said, I just can't say enough about Aflac and Scott's for letting us run this thing.
Wife and baby doing well?
Yeah, everybody's doing great. It's amazing how much can happen in 5 years. When I was sitting in the car getting ready to go out to practice, I thought 5 years ago, so many great things have happened for me in that time. I'm very fortunate.
You are indeed, and we're glad you're here. Krista?
Well, Dick, from the highest car number in the garage, the 99, down to, I guess you'd say, the lowest, the 00. David Rudiman said his car is good in turns 3 and 4, but does not turn well in the center of turns 1 and 2. His crew chief, Rodney Childers, said they'll adjust the track bar, but he reminded his driver, he said, you're going to have tons of grip tonight when we qualify. We don't want to free it up too much.
Well, one thing, David Rudiman qualifies really good here at Atlanta. When he drove our truck for us 2 years ago, he sat on the pole here, and he'll be up the front, I guarantee you.
You know, Mike, you were talking earlier about Jeffrey Bodine and what he has done for the U.S. bobsled team. I want to tell you what Joey Logano, his dad Tom, and a gentleman by the name of Mike Mulhall just did recently. Logano's own the Extreme Ice Center down in Matthews, North Carolina. Our U.S. Paralympic sled hockey team, they were hurting because the sleds that they play hockey on were so outdated. So what Joey, Tom, and Mike did, they had 20 new sleds built for those guys. Really? And they will be using them next month when they go to the U.S. Paralympic games. That's actually going to be in Vancouver as well. So what a great gesture those guys have done for those people.
Brian Vickers, 27th on the board.
You know, Mike, things worked out a little bit differently here last year. He could have gone the victory circle.
That's right.
He was chasing down Kurt Busch at the end of that race. Caution came out. They had a little issue in the pits. Otherwise, he would have been all over the back of that 2 car.
His teammate, Scott Speed, is 24th right now. Vickers just ran a lap that moves him up to 15th.
Yeah, they really fought that car last week at Las Vegas. He was 5 laps down. You know, one time we were getting a report they were thinking about trying to change the springs in that race car. Wow. He was so loose.
Dick, how about the second fastest man in town?
Well, that would be Juan Pablo Montoya. He's out of his race car right now, talking to crew chief Brian Patty. The car was too tight before. They've got it pretty close now. Still slipping the nose a little bit in the corners. And let us all remember back in March of 2007, when people were wondering, how good is this guy Montoya? Can he really drive these big, heavy stock cars? And he came here to Atlanta, qualified 16th, scraped the wall during the running of the race, and turned in a performance that resulted in a 5th place finish. And everybody looked at each other and they said, okay, so he could drive Formula One, he could drive Indy cars, and he could drive stock cars.
And Juan likes Atlanta, that's for sure.
He likes the high line. That's the reason he scraped the wall. I mean, he was right against the wall from the drop of the green flag.
Look at their computer screen. Looks a little different from ours. They have all those graphs trending where their cars and the competition are during this session.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Kyle. Yikes.
Too many M's.
That was a hell of a lap.
It was.
Second quickest with it looking that way. Just think what he'd run if they get it straightened out.
That's what he said. I love these guys. They know they've got a good lap. That just knocked a few hundredths off of his time. And he was talking about it coming to get the checkered.
You know, there's a lot of drivers that have had success here, maybe more so than other places. How about Dave Blaney, who qualified 3rd here in 2001? Larry Mack's going to go run off, do a little business. We'll continue on as
secret mission.
Okay, more later.
Double throwdown.
Sprint brings you an inside look at what's happening now in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Most laps run in this practice session. Brad Keselowski with 29. For more NASCAR stats, in-car audio, and live race radio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile at sprint.com/speed. What a difference a week makes. Here is Kyle Busch, second fastest. Krista.
Well, with that lap, too, you might think, as you see Denny Hamlin, his teammate, talking to Kyle inside the race car there, you might think Kyle would be pretty happy with it, just park it and say, all right, we're done. Oh, no, 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 no. Kyle said we can do even better. He says he has a little bit of an issue in turn 4. He said, let's resolve it, and I'll go out there for one more lap.
Yeah, Krista, if he'd like to see it, we can show it to him, because he does have a little issue there. Lost just a skosh of time coming out turn 4. Back in, stepped out just a little wee bit. Snug him up a little bit more, and I think he's right. He's probably got another, probably 10th in that race car.
Now, speaking of issues, last week Jeff Gordon was the fastest man in Las Vegas for about 380 of 400 miles. This week, Mark Martin is fastest. Jimmy Johnson is 4th. Dale Jr.'s in the top 10. And where is Jeff, Dick Berggren? 34th on the board. What's up?
Boy, he sure would like to know what's up, because when we listened to him as he came off the racetrack the last time, he said, I don't know what and I can't say that word on television, to do to make it better. When he hits the bumps, the nose just shoots up the track, and he says just trying to go straight when he gets in the corner. They have absolutely struggled with with that car since they've gotten here, and if anything, they're not as good in comparison to the competition as they were when this practice session began.
And that's that landing thing that you heard the drivers talk about. When the car when the nose comes up, when it sets, it's got to stick. If it doesn't, there's nothing you can do but let out the throttle and get the nose back up under the car.
Kurt Busch trying to rebound from getting caught up in somebody else's crash last week. Those somebody else's were Jamie McMurray and Juan Montoya. And right now he is 16th and coming out for a mock qualifying run.
That's an improvement though, Mike, because he was way over in the 30-somethings. On this last qualifying run, he moved up to where he is now, 19th or 16th. Let's see if they've helped the car any. Running a pretty high line around here. Might be some strategy, seeing if that's a better line or not.
Quicker, 29.52 moves him up to 11th.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing, if you think about Juan Pablo, he always runs a very unorthodox looking line compared to everybody else. Way high into the turn, like up in the middle of the track. Then he dives it down off the corner, almost like he's trying to diamond the corner. He makes great time that way. That's almost what looked like what Kurt did there. Now, opposed to that kind of a line, look at Mark Martin. He's got his left side all the way down under the yellow line. So it just really depends on where your car, again, we talk about this joint having a lot of play, you know, you run anywhere you want to. You just go where it's the fastest for your car.
Getting back to the get well list, former car owner Burt Reynolds, who teamed up with Hal Needham and owned the Skoal Bandit of Harry Gant that we spoke about. Burt released Tuesday from the hospital in Florida after undergoing quintuple bypass surgery. He also starred in Stroke a Race.
Yes. He and Hal Needham, that bunch, they were huge race fans back in the 80s with Harry Gant and Skoal Bandit.
Some big time. That just made me looser getting in and same.
Sounds like no help there.
No, not much enthusiasm in that voice.
No. Krista.
Matt Kenseth out. I think you're P6 right now, but I believe I heard your crew chief Todd Parrott say it's going to be even better.
Yeah, I can't hear you very good down here, to be honest with you, but I'm pretty happy with our Valvoline Ford today. Race stream, it drove pretty good. I think there's some improvements to be made, but it drove a lot better than last time, and been trying to work on qualifying. It seems pretty good too, so I'm terrible at qualifying here, so if I can hit my marks and get a good lap, I think we got a pretty fast car.
I can't believe you can't hear me, because I just told you you're the coolest race car driver ever.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Thanks, Matt.
Nice recovery.
I didn't hear any on that one, did you?
No,
I think Todd Parrott he's lit a fire under that bunch. They are jacked up, ready to race.
Yeah, Matt's sixth on the board. He is the fastest Ford, and this man is the fastest Dodge. Kurt Busch. Boy, David Reagan just knocked off a lap that is seventh quickest. So business is picking up late in this practice. And here's the Biff.
Whoa. Everybody gets just a little loose off of 4 right there. Carrying so much speed up out of that corner.
And Biffle moves from 33rd to 9th fastest with that lap.
And that just shows you, all that is tires and tape. Put 4 brand new tires on there, put a little extra air in them to get some heat in them quicker. Tape up that grill down there at the bottom, that hole in the bottom, and you're going to pick up some speed.
Well, that moves all 4 of the Roush Fenway Fords into the top 10. 6th, 7th, 9th, and 10th. How about Smoke, Dick?
Well, he's back out for his second attempt at a mock qualifying run, which is one more than he ordinarily does at a racetrack. He's not been particularly fast today, 22nd on the board the last time I checked. He's a 2-time winner at this speedway, has led a lot of laps, 790 of them altogether, Krista.
I think last week I think he slipped there and got a good top 10 finish by taking 4 tires.
Yeah.
At the end of the race out there.
Right. David Ruderman right now, Krista, is 19th fastest.
Yeah, in our last report, we talked about crew chief Rodney Childers wanting to make a little bit of a track bar change to give you a little bit more grip, but we know grip is not going to be an issue tonight.
No, I mean, we got a pretty good draw, and as the sun goes down, this place is going to get really, really fast. So if having some trouble getting into the racetrack, dragging a little bit. If you're dragging right now, you're really going to drag later on. So we got a pretty good air machine. We just got to tweak on it a little bit, make it better.
All right, thanks, David.
Pretty good draw. Out of the 35 drivers that are locked in on time, Rudiman drew 34th. That's a pretty good draw.
That should pay off.
Mark Martin still quickest. Just a couple of minutes left in this practice session, and just below the top 10, Jamie Mack just ran the 11th quickest lap of the day.
Yeah, he just went from the side of the scoring monitor where you say, I don't know what to do to it, I can't drive it, to the other side where you say, yeah, we got something to work with now, boys.
Now, we talked about the top 35 drawing for their consecutive their position in the time trial order 1 through 35, and how lucky David Rudiman was to draw 34th, because a late draw is better than an early one here.
Yeah, so if you were just a guessing guy, who do you think drew 35th? If you were just guessing.
Let me see where that golden horseshoe is.
I think you'd be right on.
That's it. Jimmy Johnson will qualify 35th. And
you just think about, now people always say, you know, NASCAR, they help him, they do that. This is out of a bingo thing down there, that you spin around, a blind draw, and the number just comes out. You don't have any control over it.
Now, while we're talking about trends and where's a better place to do this, that, or the other, Bill Sloboda, who's I guess his flight connection from Daytona finally got in, because he's here in Atlanta. He's been missing the last 2 weeks. He's our stat guru, and reminds us that last year's pole winner, Mark Martin, went out 12th early in the order.
You know, actually, when you're going to go at 6 o'clock tonight,
right?
It's really probably going to be about the same for everybody.
Okay.
It's not like a hot sunny afternoon when the sun goes down and the track cools off. This track's already pretty cool.
Here's another driver on the gotta go list, Terry Cook. Right now, he and Eric Almirola and Casey Mears, who lost an engine, are the drivers most in doubt of making the show. So Terry's got to find some speed. Like Mears, he's also looking to make his first race of the season.
Car doesn't look all that bad. It's popping the nose just a little bit. They might, if they could settle that down, it might help him, but it doesn't look terrible.
Well, that was a Mach Q run, and looked like he picked it up. That was his fastest lap of the day right there. Still needs to find a bit more speed.
Well, you know he does, but Jeff Gordon's right in front of him. So Jeff is, I mean, if Jeff, I know Jeff Gordon, he's not happy at all. So.
Jeff's got a lot more to work with.
Oh yeah.
Than Terry Cook in that one-car operation. So practice winding down here. The red and black flags have just waved. Track is empty, so we are done. Mark Martin wins practice, his 7th of 9 laps, and that's just about as few as anybody else has run. Was the fastest of the day.
See that guy sitting there in 3rd place? If you wanted to bet a little money, I wouldn't be afraid to bet a little money on him. Oh, we're not in Vegas anymore, are we? That was last week.
What? Back through the top 20. So we will see you later this evening, right around 6 o'clock, for pole position qualifying for Sunday's Kobalt Tools 500.
Yep. Better put your work clothes on.
Among the go-or-go homers, Mike Bliss and Joe Nemechek were fastest. Terry Cook, Eric Almirola, and Casey Mears are most in doubt as of right now. We're going to John Roberts, and we'll see you later for qualifying.